Srebrenica genocide survivor, it will happen to us again. With genocide denial rife in the region, a Bosniak survivor of the atrocities in Srebrenica fears future killings. Survivors of the Srebrenica genocide, in which Serb forces systematically killed more than 8,000 Bosniak Muslim men and boys over several days, have marked the 26th anniversary of the killings. Coffins with the remains of 19 Bosniaks found in mass graves and identified recently through DNA tests, have been buried Sunday in the memorial cemetery for victims of the genocide on the edge of the eastern Bosnian town. Vahid Suljic was a 9-year-old boy at the time from the nearby village of Voljavica, who had sought refuge in Srebrenica with his family. Suljic recounted his experiences and told Al Jazeera that he fears a genocide could be committed against Bosniaks again if Serb denial of the genocide continues and lingering tensions reignite. For Suljic's family, the nightmare began in May 1992 when they first heard of paramilitary units from Serbia torturing, killing and taking Bosniaks to concentration camps in areas neighboring Voljavica, located by the Serbian border. Vahid Suljic, standing next to the UN soldier and facing the camera, is pictured in this 1994 photo from Srebrenica, courtesy of Vahid Suljic. Fearing they could soon face a similar fate, the Suljic family escaped to nearby woods where they hid for about 2 weeks. During that time, Serbian paramilitary units arrived in their village and elderly people who could not escape to the woods were burned alive in one of the houses, Suljic said. His family, including his 10-year-old sister, survived by throwing themselves into a nearby creek and waiting until nightfall before continuing for Srebrenica. The genocide happened even though Srebrenica was a United Nations protected safe area where about 50,000 Bosniaks had sought refuge. When the safe area of Srebrenica fell to Serb forces on July 11, 1995, Suljic and his family were among thousands that sought refuge inside and outside the former battery factory where the UN base held by a Dutch battalion of UN soldiers was situated. Dutch UN peacekeepers sit on top of an armored personnel carrier as Bosniak Muslim refugees from Srebrenica, eastern Bosnia, seek refuge in the nearby village of Podakari. File, AP photo. Suljic witnessed Serb forces, dressed in UN uniforms to impersonate Dutch soldiers, entering freely and observing everyone at the base. At night while people were sleeping, Serb forces separated the men from their families to kill them and also took some women and girls out of the base and raped them. Suljic said Dutch soldiers did nothing to stop what Serb forces were doing. I remember, Bosniak, men screaming and asking for help every night, Suljic said. In 2019, the Dutch Supreme Court upheld the partial liability of the Netherlands for the deaths of about 350 Bosniak Muslims murdered by Serb forces in Srebrenica. Bosniaks killed with the surname Suljic is listed at the Srebrenica Podakari Memorial Center, courtesy of Vahid Suljic. After 3 days at the base, buses arrived. Dutch soldiers informed them that women and children would be evacuated to the city of Tuzla, in liberated territory controlled by the Bosnian army, but that all males between the ages of 11 and 77 had to stay and wait to be collected by another set of buses. As Suljic's uncle led him to the bus, Serb soldiers forcibly separated them and Suljic never saw his uncle again. Vahid Suljic prays for his uncle Vahid Suljic at his grave at the Srebrenica, Podokari Memorial and Cemetery, courtesy of Vahid Suljic. Suljic's father managed to escape, and after 7 days of trekking through the woods, crossing Serbian lines and surviving shooting and ambushes amid starvation, Suljic's father was among a small minority of Bosniaks that made it out alive. Some of the remains of his father's brother Vahid Suljic, 28 years old at the time, were later found in 3 different mass graves, as far as 30 kilometers, about 19 miles, apart. In just 3 days, Serb forces killed more than half of the family, including uncles, cousins and other relatives, Suljic said. Vahid Suljic's uncle Vahid Suljic, who was killed by Serb forces during the genocide in Srebrenica, is pictured here wearing a uniform of the Yugoslav People's Army, courtesy of Vahid Suljic. Several thousand Serbs and Bosniaks continue to live in the impoverished town of Srebrenica. While 26 years have passed since the genocide, survivors are still battling against widespread Serbian denial of historical facts that have been confirmed numerous times by international courts in The Hague. Posters and graffiti glorifying Ratko Mladic, the general who led Bosnian Serb forces and was convicted of genocide, are regularly found in Serb-populated areas of Bosnia as well as in neighboring Serbia and Montenegro. Before the 26th anniversary of the genocide, Bosnian media reported on Friday of Serbian war celebrations being held in the backyard of a church located above the memorial center, with music blaring provocatively. The latest Srebrenica Genocide Denial Report, PDF, published on Friday by the Srebrenica Memorial Center, identified at least 234 instances of genocide denial in regional public discourse and media in the past year, the majority of cases occurring in Serbia. Lejla Kacanika, editor of the report, said at a news conference on Friday that narratives that deny the genocide and glorify war criminals have intensified in the past year, and denial in the region is part of Serbian state strategy. Suljic said still smoldering tensions and genocide denial pose grave risks for the future.